Burning Man changed my life. I came back a brand new person. Maybe not brand new, but definitely new. And they tell you it's a transformational experience, but you don't really get to fully grasp what that means until you experience it. Until you're out there standing in the middle of the desert, feeling the dust in your lungs and seeing the large scale ethereal art that looks like it was plucked from dreams. It's magical. Hello, my name is Kelly. I am a muscular therapist, holistic health practitioner, and somatic educator. Today, I'm going to do something a little bit different and share a deeply personal story with you about how Burning Man helped me start my journey of healing from CPTSD and childhood trauma. As funny as that might sound to some of you, that's what happened. So let's get into it. All right, there is so much I can say here. My first experience at Burning Man means so much to me because of the way it impacted my life and my future. Where I am today would not exist without this specific event in the timeline of my life. It was the catalyst for the greatest turnaround in my life. I mean, it totally changed the whole trajectory of my life at a really pivotal time. And that is not an exaggeration either. Okay, so let me set the scene. It's 2014. I'm 24 years old and just a year out of my first long-term relationship with an abusive ex-boyfriend, feeling utterly lost, but was on a journey of finding myself. I had started that journey. I started making some really big changes in my life. I dumped the toxic boyfriend. I cut out all of the toxic and unhealthy friendships in my life, including my childhood best friend, which really hurt. I mean, I just basically did a 180 flip and everything I had been doing, I let go of and just started exploring what something new could feel like. And you know, when you lose people really close to you and it feels like you've lost part of yourself, it was like that, you know, whether by choice or not, it was a sort of death to parts of myself. I also stopped smoking. I stopped eating fast food all the time, both of which were things I had learned from being in that relationship. Basically, I quit using my body as a garbage can and started taking care of it instead. I even stopped watching television. And like I said, I really just did a complete 180. Have you ever done that? It's like when I left the relationship, I wanted nothing to do with the life I had before. And so I was doing whatever was within my power to change and follow a new path. I think it's kind of common for people who grew up in homes of dysfunction, codependency, or abuse to kind of be a pendulum of extremes. When you sort of have a tendency to go all in on one side of the spectrum on something, and if that doesn't work, well, then you go to the complete opposite end instead. There isn't really a middle ground. Yeah. But here it made sense because fortunately it was all for healthier coping mechanisms. Now, my first introduction to Burning Man was actually through my creative writing teacher in college around 2011, 2012. And I just thought she was so cool. She had great style. She was a fire performer and she was also a great teacher, just a really unique individual. Right, so that had sparked my first initial interest in the event. The next introduction I had to Burning Man was from a really good friend of mine that I used to work at a restaurant with, and he raved about his experiences quite often. So it just kind of kept it on my radar, you know? Now, fast forward to early 2014, I'm dating a new guy I'm totally head over heels for, who I actually met through my friend. And they both start talking about their plans to go to Burning Man with his mom and some other friends, and it's kind of like a big deal. So, with all of these people that I admired talking about their amazing experiences at Burning Man over the years, I finally decided I wanted to go too. Why not? Right? So I teamed up with another friend of mine who had also never been before, and we decided to all caravan up together, which was really great because the theme for that year was caravanserai. So, long story short, my friend and I showed up, both newbies, without tickets, relying on sheer hope and a lot of naivety. We were both naive. I mean, totally delusional and out of my mind about the reality of things, but so hopeful things would work out fine. And they did. But spoiler, don't ever do that. I mean, like do not rec- I do not recommend. It could have turned out really bad, very badly. It is not guaranteed, and it could have ended up very badly. I was left outside the gates by myself with all of my gear inside. Like my friends had gone, my friend got a ticket before I did. I mean, talk about delusional and hopeful, right? Thank God it worked out. Anyway, that year it had rained quite a bit, and so the desert was muddy. And when this happens, they close the roads to prevent damage from happening to the area. And between that and waiting for my golden ticket, I only had about 4 days in Black Rock City total. And the reason I want to mention that is because to have been there for such a short length of time and to have had the effect on my life that it did speaks volumes. Okay. Not long after making my way inside and reuniting with my friends, which granted took a while because I mean, there's just like so much to take in. It's overly stimulating, and I didn't know how to read the map, the street, whatever. By chance, I found my friends. So, not long after making my way inside and reuniting with my friends, did I discover the guy that I was dating was actually engaged to another woman who was also there. And when I tell you my heart broke, man, that relationship was actually really hard to get over. But that's a video for another time. In retrospect, I can look back now and be so thankful for the way everything played out. Because of that, in particular, I took the opportunity to explore Burning Man alone and discovered my ways myself. I discovered myself in ways I never had before. It was such a great reintroduction to myself to be throttled into a new experience, which was totally overwhelming. By the way, Burning Man is a lot to take in general, but especially your first time, it's a lot to take in as a veteran. So as a newbie, I mean, it's just mind blowing. I wandered through art installations, went to lectures about self love, met people from all over the world, and for the first time in years, I felt free. Some takeaways. I learned how it felt to take the lead in my life again. I discovered the joy of exploring and adventuring solo. I found out I could be alone. I could spend time by myself and meet new people and have a great time. I also learned that I still loved to dance and that I could do it without shame. And this was big. If you don't know yet, I grew up a dancer. I grew up training ballet and modern dance and had actually dreamed of becoming a professional ballerina when I got older. But that dream had kind of died, and I had become so self conscious of my body that I didn't dance anymore, especially not in public. But I had this big aha moment, which might sound simple to other people, but for me, it was a big deal at the time. And it was that nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares how you dance and what you look like. Literally. In fact, people actually love to watch other people enjoy themselves, allow themselves to play and to have fun. And I was able to carry that over into so many other areas of my life when I left, which helped me learn how to be confident in myself again. One of the other things that was huge in my first experience was basically having access to a completely different set of value systems and personal exchanges with people that showed me that relating with others could be soft. It was so different. The experience of radical acceptance and kindness I felt from people was so different from the abuse I experienced at home. I felt seen and accepted just as I was. And I received so many hugs, and people were genuinely interested in having conversation and learning about me. And it just felt so much lighter and more fun. I hadn't ever experienced that before. I was used to things feeling heavy and dark and feeling like I didn't matter. I just thought that's how life was. In abusive households, you don't really experience interactions like this. It was so free. I don't have a better word for it. Free is just, it just encapsulates that so well. And at home in particular, I was constantly picked apart for how I expressed myself, how I dressed, how I did my hair, my makeup, pretty much anything that they could nitpick just because I was never good enough. And in a way, I guess I was sort of the black sheep. And what was so special about Burning Man was that for the first time in my life, I got to experiment what it felt like to not wear the mask or wear the burdens or the family title of dirtbag. I didn't need any masks to be safe. It was amazing. And for this reason alone, Burning Man holds such a soft spot and such a special place in my heart. It was honestly the first place I had ever been that I had an experience of what kindness, acceptance, and pure, silly, non judgmental fun felt like. I didn't realize the world or life could be like that. It was totally mind boggling for me, and it changed me. And something else, too, I love that Burning Man introduced me to new values and a sense of community, taking care of the earth, radical expression, radical acceptance. These are all good things to take care of and love one another. I became more aware of my impact on the world. It was like the veil was removed from my eyes and I finally became self-aware. And that is a learned skill. It is one of the biggest first steps anybody can take to really changing their life. Prior to that, I hadn't known what that meant. It wasn't modeled in my home. And so from there, everything else changed. I fell in love with the art. That's what drew me to it at first. There's something so surreal about experiencing large scale art out in the middle of the desert, covered in dust. It's just magic. It's special, really. And I swore that one day I would contribute to bringing art to the playa myself. And I did eventually, which was amazing. I actually had a bachelor's of science in media arts and animation and was at the time working in the industry. I worked on movies, translating 2D film to 3D film. And while the work itself was pretty cool, not gonna lie, it was pretty cool. I hated spending 10 to 12-hour days in a dark room staring at a computer screen. It was soul crushing. And it got to the point that I started taking walking breaks on my lunch because that was the only time I was able to get sunshine and fresh air or even exercise. And it was through Burning Man, I actually found myself surrounded by a lot of other healers. And this was a turning point. I had always loved massage. I'd always done it for my friends in high school, but I had never considered it as a career path because it just, I don't know, I just wasn't aware that was a possibility. But it was then. I realized it was one of my callings, and I haven't looked back since. I fell in love with massage therapy and holistic health, and I started to learn so much about myself in the process. I'll be honest, my curiosity and love for holistic health was really fueled by my desire to be nothing like my family. I saw the dysfunction and all of their health problems that came as a result, and I wanted to run in the opposite direction. And so, as you can imagine, I just tore into every possible avenue of learning that I could. And to this day, I continue to learn and apply and incorporate things into my lifestyle. I cannot begin to tell you how massive the impact has been on my quality of life, and it's why I am so passionate about it. I do not know where I would be today if none of this has happened, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. Because to be quite honest with you, I am not totally sure I would still be walking this earth today had it not, as sad as that is to say. So, when I say that Burning Man was the catalyst for the greatest turnaround in my life, I mean it. It was the very start of something beautiful, a healing journey that 9 years later has brought me back to Jesus and even deeper in my healing journey now. And I know that was planned. It was all part of his plan. And so I am eternally grateful for the way that things have unfolded and continue to unfold. Burning Man sparked the change in me. I learned that life could be different than what I had experienced all through my life up until that point. It was like a cover was removed from my eyes and I could finally see. I know I already said that, but it's so true. It showed me that life could be different. The world wasn't inherently bad. People could be good and kind, and I mattered as a human. It might sound silly to some to have such strong feelings about such an experience, but I can tell you that when you grow up in a home that does not value you, belittles you, destroys your self esteem, your sense of self worth, kills your confidence, and leaves you feeling unsafe, any reprieve and type of different setting where those things are not present to experience a different reality was a godsend. And at this point in my journey, I can say God did send me that way. He has lined up all of my experiences since then to bring me back to Him, and I am beyond grateful for that. I want to make it clear that I am by no means saying people must go to Burning Man to have this type of experience. It's not that at all. In fact, if you've had a similar but different experience, I would love for you to share in the comments below. I would love to read them because I think it's possible to have a life-changing experience of a similar fashion anywhere you go. What's important are the people you're surrounded by and your choice of attitude and direction and intention with how you decide to interact with them and take advantage of the opportunities available to you. I just want to encourage people that life can be different from what you know. Sometimes it just takes doing something completely new and different or even scary to jumpstart that catalyst for you. There is freedom in how you get to experience that. You get to choose what that looks like for you. For me, it was Burning Man. That's just how it happened. That's all. It's just the path I took. And I appreciate it now for what it is and how it's helped me to start the journey to build up and create the life I live now. If you want to know more about the giant octopus I brought to Burning Man as an honorary artist, I told you I brought art finally, and what I learned from that project, you can watch this video next on Big Dreams, Bigger Lessons. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.